May 2019, a scientist at Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico was arrested after he lied about taking grant money from China's Thousands Talents program. I'm going to stop right there. They have some fantastic naming vernacular. They're great at just wrapping some stuff in there. So weeks later, the DOE issued a directive prohibiting lab employees and contractors from participating in or taking money from foreign talent programs, which I didn't even know existed. According to a former DOE official, officials there had grown concerned that the Chinese government was using information drawn from U.S. labs to bolster its efforts to develop biological weapons. Do you think there's a reason to believe that labs in the U.S. and Canada have been compromised by the Chinese government via routes like that? Monetary enticement.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, that has been well established. There was a major FBI investigation into the Thousand Talent programs, that both Western scientists were cultivated, as well as scientists in the employ of the Chinese government who were able to gain access to laboratories. Now, just to be clear, I mean, that is not to say that any Chinese scientists in a U.S. government laboratory is up to no good.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely not.
Yep.
I want to make that clear. But it's also absolutely clear that the Chinese government is, making a concerted effort to siphon off intellectual property and other information from U.S. labs. So Department of Energy made a policy shift at that moment where they realized the labs were open to exploitation and they had to be protected. And so basically they said, if you are a scientist on the dime of a Thousand Talent program and you're getting money from China, you cannot work here.
How would that work? Can you unpack the mechanism of like the Thousand Talent program or a foreign talent program? So an individual scientist are they directly receiving money, or is it under the guise of money for?
In the case of the scientist who had to plead guilty, yes, he was receiving actual grant money from the Chinese, and he is duly employed at a U.S. government laboratory. Now, obviously, from a national security perspective, that is not okay.
Yeah, it's leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, and those are some of the questions that are being examined in this ongoing Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigation surrounding the Winnipeg, Canada's Winnipeg lab, its BSL-4 lab, and its collaboration with China is whether a Chinese scientist who had been working there was essentially assisting the Chinese government in getting samples and other materials sent from Winnipeg to China.
That's ongoing right now with the RCMP?
That is ongoing right now, yes.
How long have they been investigating that?
I would say, I think that's been going on since 2019. So there are, the problem is, if you want to pursue open science, and that is a goal of science, it's crucially important, it's vitally important. Collaborating overseas is very important. There are different samples, different flora and fauna, different approaches. So how do you do that while securing your research techniques, right? Your samples, your intellectual property? Like, those are questions that have not been answered, right? It's an unresolved policy dilemma that has yet to be answered. Now, the question we're talking about today is whether that unresolved dilemma played some role in the origin of the pandemic, and we just don't know.